What does summer camp mean to you, and how is it still relevant, in the year 2026?
I think that, the power of technology, which has this grip over kids, is so strong these days. Kids don't play outside as much anymore, Parents are worried about letting their kids outside play on their own, yet they're online all the time. They're not mediating or controlling that very much. So it combines the best of both worlds. It gets them away from technology, and they're literally living outside 24/7. I mean, that's why I think it's more relevant than ever, that you're getting kids away from their machines, you're getting them outside, getting a little dirt under their nails, building some muscles, paddling canoes, hiking mountains, shooting arrows, playing baseball, solving problems together, learn to live and cooperate together.
It creates this atmosphere of mutual accountability, all rooted in a desire to participate and be in a community.
You're giving your child a gift by sending him to camp, because it's going to help them grow to be a happy, successful, community-oriented person.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Making Impact. I'm Michael Tessler, and I'm here today with one of my favorite human beings in the entire world, Pete Hare. Pete is the executive director of the Keewaydin Foundation. And Pete, how are you today?
I'm doing great. You're way too kind, but thank you very much for those kind words.
What is the Keewaydin Foundation, for those that don't know?
The Keewaydin Foundation is a not-for-profit camping organization based in New England. So we run summer camps and we run environmental education camps. So we have 2 traditional summer camps on a lake called Dunmore in Salisbury, Vermont. One for boys, one for girls. It runs all summer long. Kids come for 8 weeks or 4 weeks, age range 8 to 16. Then we have a wilderness canoe tripping camp up in Canada, in Ontario, on a lake called Temagami. And that's for kids, boys and girls also, from ages more like 10 to 18. And then we run environmental education camps for school kids, generally 5th and 6th graders, mostly from Vermont, but from other states also. Kids, a class of like 50 will come for a Monday through Friday week, live in cabins, learn about the environment. And so that's what we do.
Full disclosure, Pete and I know each other because I am a beneficiary of having gone to Keewaydin Dunmore, arguably the most defining part of my upbringing, and I think essential to the trajectory that I've been on. One of the most amazing things about camp is that when you walk up and it's a sleepaway camp, you've packed all your gear. A lot of folks, they've taken very long car rides or flights to get there. And then finally they see you, Pete, and somehow you always know their name. At what point did you start committing every single person's name to memory?
Well, I will tell you, it's not some superpower that I have by any stretch of the imagination. It just takes work, but it takes effort. But once you get it down, so the first week of camp, I just make it a point to go up to every camper several times and say, okay, now is it Mike? Yeah, Mike. And last name, give me the initial. Michael Tessler, that's right. And where are you from? You from New Jersey, New York? Where are you from, Michael?
New York.
New York, yes. Michael from New York. And then a lot of times I'll do this at mealtime when the kids are lined up ready to count, and I'll just go one by one. And you just work at it for a while. And then you just make a point of, whenever you see a person, I firmly believe in this, you just want to say their name. Michael, how you doing? Good to see you. I saw you out there in the dramatics practice this morning. It looks like it's going to be a great show. Knowing a person's name is key ingredient to having a relationship. If you don't know their name, then you're not going to have a relationship. You learn their name, you have a relationship. So that's one of the things that I emphasize with our staff. There's no excuse to not know every boy's name in your age group by the end of the first week.
I had a 10-year gap between my last summer at camp and seeing you. And I came to a camp reunion in LA. It was actually my first week back in Los Angeles, or first week ever in Los Angeles. I literally just moved to the city, packed my car, and just by luck and happenstance, there's a Keewaydin summer camp reunion happening. The way it felt, not knowing if if anyone was even gonna remember me after so long, and the way that your face lit up, I went, Mike Tessler.
Well, I mean, listen. Every kid at camp is memorable, but Michael, you were particularly memorable. Your first day at camp, I mean, I'll never forget. You'd like day one, you brought out your laser and you were ready to like engage. You were full
You
on.
promptly confiscated my lightsabers,
No,
which
did we have to confiscate them?
it was at least within a 24-hour period. But there was a good 6-hour window where we were, respectfully beating the living daylights out of each other.
But anyway, I mean, it was just evident from the very beginning. Your first day at camp that you loved camp. You were going to be into this whole thing, and you were a camper for what, 7 years, something like that,
From first year Warmog to Varandry.
all through Varandry, the famous Dead Red trip.
Yeah, I was a lucky camper, pun intended. My last summer was the 100th anniversary of camp.
Yeah. That was a big deal.
So speaking of 100 years of camp, so not everybody has had the benefit of getting to go to summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to explain it to people because it really is this sort of quasi-religious experience in a sense, and how defining it is. What does summer camp mean to you? And sort of what is it providing? Why is it important? How is it still relevant?
Yeah.
In the year 2026?
Great questions. You're throwing me lob balls here. This is great. Well, first of all, I would say it's more relevant than ever. Okay, I think that the power of technology, which has this grip over kids, is so strong these days, and parents have kind of waved the white flag. They don't really know what to do, and at camp there's zero technology. I mean, the other thing, and I know you read a lot, but like kids don't play outside as much anymore. Parents are worried about letting their kids outside play on their own, that there's going to be the boogeyman out there or whatever, literally. Yet they're online all the time, and they don't have they're not mediating or controlling that very much. So it combines the best of both worlds. It gets them away from technology, and they're literally living outside 24/7. I mean, at Keewaydin we live in these tents. They're not like tents you use when you're going on a backpacking trip. They're proper canvas tents on 14 by 14 platforms. It's like a little cabin. So you're living outdoors. And so, that's why I think it's more relevant than ever, that you're getting kids away from their machines. You're getting them outside, getting a little dirt under their nails, getting a couple mosquito bites, building some muscles, paddling canoes, hiking mountains, shooting arrows, playing baseball, solving problems together, living by cheek and jowl in a tent, and having to learn to live and cooperate together. And the biggest thing of all, it's just this community. I mean, it's human contact, and you have time. Like you're up there working, and we see each other. We pass after dinner, and we just start a chat, and we can talk for 10, 15 minutes. Where can you do that anywhere else in the world?
3 meals a day. You don't realize what a game changer it is to just even have this sort of reflection. I think at the end of the day, especially when you're on staff, which is the most exhausting job that I can think of, but the most rewarding job I've ever had. You're sitting at a table with, 6 11-year-old boys having these brilliant, profound, fascinating, interesting conversations. And it's this intergenerational magic too that exists, where in what other world is an 11-year-old getting to build a meaningful relationship with, like John, is 90 something years old.
Yeah, John Thomas, 83 years old.
83.
And
sorry, John.
No, absolutely. And he's the most energetic, spry, sharp 83-year-old I know. We have every generation, every decade represented at camp up through 80.
And I'd love to sort of get into your own personal history with camp, because when I was a camper, I had the great benefit of getting to know your dad, Wabu's Hare, who in my mind, he is in a pantheon of just legend and I would at 11 years old, and I'm glad I had the foresight at 11 years old to go and sit and talk with him for hours.
Yeah.
And I always joke around, my claim to fame is that I think I may have been the last camper whose name he committed to memory, mostly because I was bothered him every single day.
No, I'm sure he loved it.
But tell me a little bit about sort of your introduction to camp.
It was magical. So, As he owned the camp with two other partners, Abby Fenn and Slim Curtis. So it became a nonprofit in 1982. So in those early years, when I was a kid, he was the owner and director of the camp, and we would go up there 3 weeks before camp started, and my brother Steve and my sister and I kind of had the run of the camp, and then we were campers all the way through. And my dad was great. He kept his distance. He wanted it to be our experience. So there was never any sense from him or from the staff or from the other campers like, oh, this is the director's son. I was just like another kid. Again, you said, well, for you, Pete, he's your dad. That's right. I thought of him as dad. I knew that he was special. It was when I was older that I could really tell that he was special. He had a gift for being able to see the best in people and bringing the best out of people. So he was a tremendous role model, and he always encouraged me, but he never pushed me too much. I mean, I think he was thrilled when I went into teaching and thus carved out a career that would allow me to come back to camp. But he was a light touch mentor for me, and I think for a lot of people too. He could do it by his role modeling, by his showing his trust in you to do the best that you could.
I think that's definitely a skill that you picked up along the way, where there is one of the surprising things when I started working at camp was I didn't know how much I would be learning in that role, where it's not even necessarily just a job, but in a way there is sort of especially when you're, in your early 20s and all of that, like you are suddenly given this extraordinary responsibility, and you're given so much trust, a level of trust that at 19, 20 years old, nobody else has given you that kind of.
Yeah.
How do you, as a leader, like what sort of role do you feel that you have? And sort of before a lot of these young guys are entering the workforce, you're giving them this supercharge.
I tell you, one of the conversations that I have all the time right now is with staff from camp who may have worked for 1 or 2 years, who are saying now they've got to get an internship, because the pressure for internships now is just enormous. And then they miss camp and they do an internship and said, well, what did you do during the internship? Well, I don't know. It was a lot of getting coffee for people, doing filing and doing some cleaning up of the hard drive. Like the kind of experience you get, the kind of responsibility you have when you're taking care of these kids and you're organizing a trip that's a 10-day trip, in the Verendrye Park or the Post, where you have to pack all your food, you have to plan your itinerary. I mean, it's enormous. We're planning a show, the Friday Night Frolics hosted in the multi-house, and you know all about it. I mean, you had to put in a show every week for the entire camp. I mean, talk about pressure.
And we make sure it's good.
Absolutely. So
we wrote a 6-part musical, Pete.
You did. That's true. He did a 6-part musical when he was a camper.
And then thought it would be a great idea to help the campers try that on their own.
Hey, listen, man, and
they still made it work.
It's a tremendous responsibility. And more than anything else, I mean, and I'd say this to the staff all the time, you are this incredible role model. I mean, they are going to look up to you like a god from Olympus. All right. If you do it right, if you take it seriously, if you invest yourself in them and really show that
you're saying the campers to the staff.
Exactly. These staff, these 19, 20, 21-year-olds are the ultimate role models. All right. They're not looking at me as a role model. Guy's 66 years old. They're not even really, they're kind of looking at their parents, but that 19 and 20-year-old staff for an 11-year-old kid, that staff is in their sights. They see that's their next step. And so, when a staff gets that, and most of them do, I mean, most of the staff really buy into what we're doing.
You figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a certain level, and I think the other beautiful thing there is that extends, the camp is broken up into these 4 different age groups,
right?
Different groves. When you are in the youngest group and you are looking at the oldest group as they're paddling in.
Oh, yeah.
And these are 16-year-old boys?
Yeah.
You would think that they're, 30-year-old seasoned veterans of,
absolutely.
And they, as part of this experience, this intergenerational sort of passing of the torch, they begin to assume that role even before they're ready to go on staff. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about the environment, is that in what other setting, certainly not in school, you're not interacting with kids of different ages. And when you are, they tend not to be the types of influences that you necessarily want them to be.
That's right.
But it creates this atmosphere of mutual accountability, all rooted in a desire to participate and be in a community. And it's so funny. I'll never forget first morning at camp, ball scores are being read.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm from New York. Yankees crushed it. Red Sox didn't have a good time. And you hear the first boo in the dining hall. And I'll never forget you getting up. And what do they say, Pete?
No booing at Keewaydin.
So that is the only place and even to this day, I hear people boo, I get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the philosophy, because obviously Keewaydin, it's 100 and
1893 is the origin of the organization. So many years.
yeah, just, right around the Civil War.
So what does that make it? 133 years?
As you have sort of this dynamic with no booing and sort of 100, however many years now, how do you take all of these lessons and sort of create the structured, unstructured setting that works so well with camp?
Oh gosh, man, you were just throwing me these great lob balls. I love this. So a couple things. When you're in a camp setting like this, you're like in your own little universe, your own hermetic universe. And without the noise and distraction of consumerism, technology, whatever, you don't have all that. And so you can really focus on what's important. So we have a couple of mottos at Keewaydin. One is help the other fellow, okay? I mean, it's a little bit antiquated with using the word fellow, but it still works, okay? Help the other fellow, which means we're thinking about other people. We want to help them first. And leave your campsite better than you found it, which is, literally we do these canoe trips. So when we go to a place in camp, we want to make sure that when we leave it, we left it in great shape, better than we found it. But it's also metaphorically something we talk about all the time. And then we have these candles that we light at the end of the year that symbolize the values that we really hold on to firmly at Keewaydin, things like honesty and perseverance and kindness and courage and leadership, and there are a bunch of others. And we have that ceremony at the end of the summer, but we talk about those candles a lot during the year also. So in this environment where you are kind of shielded from the rest, these things have traction. You can really talk about it, you can believe in it, and you can live it, and you can do it. And then, you throw on top of it that you have these tremendous staff role models that the kids just love, who are leading them, and then they're engaged in all of these different activities that are stretching them and pushing them to try new things, get out of their comfort zone, especially these canoe trips and backpacking trips, which, by the way, as you know, I mean, we send these 15-year-olds out on a 17-day canoe trip, that's a real challenge. And that's something when they do that, they can feel like, not everybody does that. They can hang their hat on that as something very special. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. And when it all comes together, you know what we call it? Keewaydin magic.
And so sort of to that end, one of the unique things about Keewaydin, and I think one of the challenges around summer camp, is that it really is, for a lot of families, just a bridge too far. Even if they want that experience for their children, very often the families that their children probably need it the most. Keewaydin has a scholarship program.
Correct.
I have always found camp to be the great equalizer.
Yeah.
When you are out trudging it in the woods, portaging a canoe, and we have our wooden boxes, our wanigans that we carry around. It does not care what your parents' net worth.
That's right.
So what does it mean to you that Keewaydin is able to do that? And what do you see from just a leader perspective on how that changes trajectories?
Currently, slightly over 20% of our kids are receiving scholarships, and that number is going to grow. And I think that's, one of the most satisfying things for me that's been happening at Keewaydin over the past, 15, 20 years, seeing that grow. We partner with a lot of organizations, a lot of schools, and a lot of youth organizations. And so, Lauren McDowell, the director of our girls camp, she and I will go, when we go on our road trips for recruiting, we'll always go visit our partners. And so we have organizations like City Squash and East Harlem School in New York that have been sending us kids for the past 10, 15 years. And so you really get to know the organization, they get to know us. And you have the Eisner Foundation, which was one of the original partners right here in Los Angeles. They send us 8 kids every year, 4 girls and 4 boys. At the point now where they're coming back and they're on staff. So it's just tremendously rewarding that we're able to, have that kind of socioeconomic diversity and see these kids, really thrive at camp. It's very important. Camp is not inexpensive. I mean, we have a tremendous staff to camper ratio, and so you got to pay those staff, and we pay them well. So camp is not expensive. So being able to make opportunities for low income, for middle income families, is really important, and I think makes camp a lot better.
If you could share a message with parents, educators that are thinking about trying to figure out how to connect the dots, and what is the quick appeal to them of why summer camp is essential in the modern world?
So I think as a parent, your fundamental role is to try to steer your child in a direction where they are going to be happy, successful, contributing members of the world. And one of the important things that parents need to do in that process is you're just constantly seeding a little bit more independence to your kids. You got to give them a little bit. If you don't, they aren't going to be able to become independent. And that can sometimes happen with parents. They want to be a little bit too hovering. And camp is a great place for parents to be able to take that leap where they're giving their kids independence. They have to be away from mom and dad and see what that feels like. They have to make new friends. And what better place to do it when you're surrounded by these tremendous role models? You're engaged in all of these healthy, wholesome, fun activities, being part of a community. I say to the parents, you're giving your child a gift by sending him to camp, because it's going to help them grow to be a happy, successful, community-oriented person.
How can people contribute to the Keewaydin Foundation?
Well, I mean, the first thing is spread the word, to your friends, so that they'll consider sending their kids to our camps. But we have a website, very easy to find, Keewaydin.
You can check that out in the link below.
There you go. In the link below, you can find that. And for people who want to contribute to the Keewaydin Foundation to help with our scholarship fund, then there's information on the website about
Keewaydin.org/donate. Pete, thank you so much.
Hey,
This has
my
been
pleasure,
so
man.
fun. Keewaydin magic.
Keewaydin magic, baby. Absolutely.